Good morning. It's a beautiful morning in New York City, and I'm feeling fine, thank you. The chemo was effective, and I thought I should share that with you, that it was effective, though I'm still going in for laparoscopic surgery on the 9th of December. So all prayers and support continue to be welcome, but I think the outcome will be just fine, which is what I really still think about our economy. It will be just fine, but in the short run, it's going to be a bumpy ride. I'd like to be able to say late stage capitalism is gone, but it isn't. Late stage capitalism is still very much alive at all of our expense. It's still creating the inflation that we see, and it is still not giving paid leave and transportation to those in need. We're waiting for those childcare relief bills. We're waiting for PreK for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. This is a necessary part of our society that will allow people to have a level playing field when it comes to entering educational ladders and also the job market. This will give everyone a chance. And why do I think it should be one size fits all? So it can be right from the federal government on a national program with a national agenda. This way, nobody has a chance to interfere, and all the standards are the same. Our kids are finally learning in the East what everyone's learning in the West and the Northwest and the Midwest. One country, one agenda. It's so needed. There are 46 million people. That's it, out of 330 million who are controlling our narrative. 25 states have draconian voter suppression. 25 states have become more expansive. The politics don't work. The optics don't work either. This is one nation, and as Eisenhower put it, under God, with liberty and happiness for all. But that's not what's happening. With the few people in this vocal minority, many of us are really suffering. Do you think people want to give up their jobs? I'm sure they don't. But how much stress can people take? It's really a burden on everyone. Not getting vaccinated is a selfish act. In most countries where they're going to be expecting the 4th or the 5th waves, you better believe that when those waves are over, they're enforcing mandates because their countries cannot afford more lockdowns or more deaths. In our country, we've experienced over 750,000 Americans dead from COVID, when we were the first country pretty much to have the vaccine that can prevent death. And people chose, or didn't choose, because they were forced to work, to suffer and die with COVID, and then expose their families to the infection while they watched others die. You think it doesn't have a toll on Americans, on people? when you know there's nothing you can do and that the disease is spreading and that you've watched people die and saw their loved ones. Nurses go into the profession because they have a caring, compassionate gene. Something makes them choose that profession. In fact, it probably chooses them. And that's what they know they want to do, but not under the circumstances that we've imposed, where there were probably nursing shortages to begin with because hospitals were working on a for-profit basis and nobody had the staff to cope with a raging pandemic. I certainly know that was true in nursing homes. In the one that I stayed at for rehabilitation after my last hip revision in 2016, I knew that that nursing facility and rehab facility needed a minimum of 35 extra staff. The folks who were there tried to do the best job they could under the circumstances. Imagine how horrible it was for them to try to save people's lives. And that's what's happened with the nursing staff. So, can't blame folks. You can call it the Great Reset. You can name it anything you like. But what it really is people being burnt out by the disease and what they've seen in suffering. And that's not all the stress. Coupled with the deaths that were needless during the pandemic was stresses that made folks who are on opioids, and particularly fentanyl, 100,000 extra people died. When do we say enough? When does everyone admit that the country is out of control because of the wishes and whims of 46 million folks? Not right, folks. Not right at all. Not supposed to be judgmental, I know. But when I see people dying, it hurts me because it's needless. If I can get rid of chemotherapy pain with meditation, then I think others could probably do the same and don't need the opioids, just need to decide on another way of life and be given that option. That would be a blessing. When I know that we have a powerful FCC and a Communications Act, and we're not using it to get rid of and delete the misinformation on social media, and also on TV news channels, and we're not enforcing antitrust. How do you think folks feel when they're in the packing lines of major food companies after they've watched so many die? And what's the fine for someone like Tyson? $13,000. $13,000 for non-compliance with OSHA. That's a laugh. When I know that in order to work in New York City buildings as a flooring contractor, not only did I have to provide an OSHA course and certification, and this was what? Early 2000s, around 2010, 2013. I had to spend between $1,200 and $1,800 to educate my mechanics on OSHA regulations. And I also had to be bonded for $5 million. And now I see that a mega corporation like Tyson or JBS, they get fined $13,000? That's nothing for having poor packaging lines, insufficient safety for your workers, and what do you get? It's like a penny fine. Not right. When do we, the people, come first? I know there's going to be a time, and I actually wish that it would come pretty quickly. We need that Family Care Act. We need infrastructure. Transportation is the leading hindrance to folks getting jobs. Rank that second to childcare. Women would love to work, but if they're the sole caretaker of their families, they can't, because they've got to watch after the kids and watch after the elderly in their families. Folks aren't living the high life. Folks are just barely surviving. And the quicker we realize it, the better we can get back to living and dealing with the changes that are going to be inflicted upon us as we move through this century. We can't stay the same, nor should we. We can do better. And we'll have to, because we can't control the weather at this point, and we really don't know when it's going to strike us, and strike us hard. So there's a lot to do and a lot to think about. I almost wish that there could be a week of mourning and de-stressing for everyone. Couldn't come soon enough, like between Christmas and New Year's, when people just gathered their thoughts together and we could all raise money for turkeys like we're doing in my shul, so that folks are not going hungry. And that would be a good thing to think about. Folks need time to come to their senses, to come to a sigh of relief. And they need it with not only compassion and empathy, but monetary support. So don't deliberate too long in Congress. We need the money for people. I have friends personally who would love to eat out and can't. My friends can't even afford to do too much of anything except stay home or go for walks. They wait for Stofers to be on sale or something to be on sale so that they're not at the mercy of welfare. So trust me, folks don't want to be on welfare. Folks don't want to be a burden to society. Let's put in the antitrust that we need. Let's start the competition for new jobs. It's happening in the chip market. Chip markets are coming home. And I know for sure from reading, Ford and GM are going to be building their own chips in-house as well. And I know that Bill Gates is partnering with Warren Buffett on those natrium salts, the new clean nuclear reactors, as well as partnering with other individuals for fusion technology. It's around the corner. New industries, new jobs, new training for folks. That's what we need. We need an open society. We need a society where cities communicate with other cities on a global level and figure out how we can all reduce our carbon footprint. Every 6% counts, and we want to be able to save the existing forests and land and peat that we have, that have been there for millennia, so that our planet doesn't overheat or flood out. When I read about Vancouver, it makes me very upset. I was in that magnificent city where the entry level for housing is 2.2 million bucks, and now they're stranded, and all the towns around them in British Columbia are wiped out by floods. This wasn't planned for, but it's time we thought about not being reactive and being proactive. We've got our world to save, and we've got people that we really do need to take care of. Not in the sense that we need to be caregivers, but we need to be able to give them that leg up the ladder of success and give them the jobs they need to survive and thrive. We've got them. We've just got to unlock the monopolies and make sure that people at all levels of society are employed and working and not addicted. We need that kind of gentler society that Herbert Walker Bush talked about. It can never come fast enough, and if it comes, hey, we should all be grateful, because that's what America needs. America needs a little compassion, a little empathy for others, and certainly less judgment. So, looking forward to seeing you next week after Thanksgiving. I know for me, I'm going to be grateful for every minute and every day that I'm able to wake up and see the sun right outside my windows and see my family as well. So God bless you all, and let's think about our society, not just the wealthy, not just the middle class, not just the lower class, but all people who are in the United States of America. We all deserve that chance to excel and be the best that we can, and to also have a little breathing space so that we know we can move forward again with energy and with purpose in our hearts. Once again, it's like a Jewish goodbye. Once is never enough. So I'll say it again. God bless you all. See you next week. And take care, everyone. We do have blessings. We've got a beautiful country. Let's be mindful of each other, because we are our brother's keeper. Take care.